Hi, I'm BZ Rieger, and I'm doing a quantum porch sitting. It's a nice evening after a very pouring day. It's April 25th, 2020, and this is an answer to someone's question. And as I was nudged to do it, I realized that it was um, a wonderful exercise for me to answer the question for me, because I thought it was a brilliant question. And my first answer was, I haven't got a clue. So I was having some pretty in-depth um, uh, personal private conversations with a being via email, and they were asking for some insights, some guidance around, how to navigate all of this thing, and wanted my personal insights on that. And so I replied, to their long email with my long email. And when they replied back, they said that was helpful and some good things were there. And one of the things that stood out after, we exchanged these energies, um, was, just in a discussion part, uh, that the desire to find out. So this is what I pulled out as the question. Their desire was to find out, and the you is specifically me, to find out where you found your joy and how you hang on to it. And again, this is specifically related to these moments right now. Um, and after already having discussed that, I spend most of my time with my happy dance shoes on. They get a good workout. So when I first thought of it, I thought, well, wow, how did I find my joy and how do I hang on to it? And it never occurred to me to play with that question. It never occurred to me. It's a lot harder to do than I thought. It never occurred to me, I guess, to look at it that way. So my first thoughts were, well, how did I find it? Like I said, I thought, whoa, that's a great question. Um, and I'd have to play with that because I'm not sure how I would describe that. And the hang on to it part, that was a little easier because for me um, the idea of hanging on to something is tight, and like I'm wrestling, and the joy is trying to get away. So I wouldn't do that. I would be with it. I would meet it. I would play with it. I would co-create with it. um, I would see if it seemed that joy had diminished, that I would think, okay, well, what was the last thing I was wrestling with my mind, or saying, or doing, or being, or looking at, feeling? I would integrate, play with all those things, and then I'd say, oh, okay. So when I'm doing that, or when I'm off rope doping with this kind of thing, either with someone next to me, or in my mind, or in emotions, wherever it is, that equates that. And that's how I do that with all sorts of things. So that was an easy part of the answer. um, and the first part is, how would I find my joy, and how did I, where did, so to find out where you found your joy. And I think maybe that part um, is is interesting, hit me in an interesting way. So again, my first thought to that, where did I find it? And the first answer was, well, it wouldn't have been outside of myself. I wouldn't have been looking outside of myself. Um, that's something I learned not to do a long time ago, because it never gave me any satisfaction. It never gave me anything that was lasting, that I really wanted. Um, because if I was predicating my joy or happiness or flow or abundance or whatever it is it could be millions of things out there on something else, then I was giving away my power. I was giving away my ability to create things. So that was the first thing. So find out where you found your joy. And as I played that a little bit more, crystal clear the answer came to me, and Smarmy came right up to play with his, and the answer that came crystal clear was I found it in me. I found it in me, all of me here, my soul, and all that connection that I am, the truth of who I am. And Smarmy just came up to play simply because I guess he couldn't resist. And I thanked him very much and said, there's a field over there with some bunnies and a bobcat you can go play with. So I guess really that is the answer. It's as simple as that. But it is also very nuanced, very intricate. It's not complicated, but it is complex. So one of the ways, and so I was playing, as I was driving the car and doing some other stuff, and I was playing with that. Okay, well, where did I find that? Well, it was in me, and so what did that look like, or how did you do that, or and then I asked myself a question, well, how do you know it was joy? Well, it's the feeling. And I'll put this caveat out, or this note, or confession, or whatever, because I heard a couple people going, oh, now it's this joy and bliss thing again. I was like that maybe 30 years ago. It was, find your joy and bliss. I'm thinking, okay, well, let me tell you, you can do that, but that's not going to help me because my boat's leaking and all these kind of things, and I don't know how to do that or how to find that, and that seemed so false and such a stretch. So I once used to wrestle with that, and that would shut things down. No longer, but I just want to give I'm recovering, don't know how to or want to find my joy or my bliss, and I'm in it all the time. So where did I find my joy? Well, again, another thing that was there seemed to be kind of like big envelope for me, and this is why I decided to record this, because it was an interesting playing thing for me, to kind of back into it, to figure it out, to kind of figure out the recipe of how I got there. Might be useful for other people. It might be useful if there's other things I want to do. It might also be, in fact, I'm pretty certain now, as I played with it for about 24 hours or more, that there's a training in there for me that will be a useful skill set and tool for things that are upcoming, that I will be asked to do. So what I was about to say before that was that there seems to be kind of big containers that are parts of that, of where did you find it. And so I found it in me. I found it in all of me, the truth of who I am. And as I was going through that, I would say that one of the first places to look, or one of the first kind of tools or tests to see, maybe is there something behind that rock, or whatever it is, however you might use it as a metaphor, was I looking, encountering, meeting, experiencing different things, different data, different information, different people, different situations, whatever it is, from an intellectual exercise of joy, of connecting with myself, of going into the truth of myself, or was I doing it from, a full, genuine heart connection? So as I say, full-throated, open-hearted, and really standing in that. And one of the reasons that comes up is because if it's the latter, so not an intellectual exercise, it's there, And it's so, no matter what new thing happens with the COVID-19, no matter what, new um, ridiculous thing that you hear, like I read something that the governor of Virginia is planning on having the stay-at-home order for 2 years. Okay, I don't think that's going to go well. So, no matter what, instead of going, oh my God, does that mean, well, what if the other governors and this and that, and then there's Trump or Q and they're failing us, and blah, blah, blah. Because if I go there, it's one thing to look and examine and discern that. That's not what I'm speaking about. I'm speaking, if I go there, if I jump there, if I go there in that way, then where I claimed to be thinking and feeling and knowing for me was in that part an intellectual exercise. And I remember the aha, and I've talked about this a lot on other recordings, at least 30 years ago, where I had this just, alchemical epiphany, this huge thunderbolt moment of, from a linear aspect, talking to myself, just me, linear. If you say you believe in this, you say you think this is the way it is, you say, I'm talking to me, you say that, all of this is so, well, it's either so or it's not. You can't be half pregnant. You can't half this way and only because you don't like it or you do like it or it's a little difficult or whatever it is, or a little scary or you're uncertain or, so which is it? And at that moment, Smarmy had terrific advice for me. Because he said, you've got to either, and Smarmy is it's kind of an inside joke from Sheila, with a term for our different people's lower ego minds. Anyways, and he said, well, you're either there and you're solid in that or you're not. And it seems to me we're wasting our time pretending that, and we could be doing other things, because all the stuff that you're pretending, about being open-hearted and all of these things that you're talking about, but you kind of get knocked out of it. We're getting shunned. We're getting a lot of grief. We're, friends are going away and families going away, and this is Smarmy talking. My life's pretty miserable, and I'd kind of like to get back to that. So let's either do this or not. And for me at the moment, it was huge. So anyways, I tell that story because in the kind of backing out into where did I find my joy? And it was me. And how do I navigate that? Is to feel into whether or not, how I'm navigating the COVID-19, how I'm navigating all of the stuff that's coming down right now, and being very joyful about it, very thrilled. I mean, ecstatic, happy dance all the way, and calm and resolute and full of laughter and inquisitive and fascinated and really excited. I mean, that's how I feel. That's how I am. That's how I be. That's how I do things. And so that's where I found it. I'm sure, I could tease out some more things around that, but I find joy, with Rose and being with her. I find joy in the place where I live. I find joy in some of the people that I work with. I find joy in some of the stuff that I do at work. I always find joy in the things I play with. I find joy in speaking with you, connecting with you, playing with you. I find joy in my friend Keegan over here, who's on the chaise lounge behind me. I find joy in all sorts of things. But my take on the question was, where did I find Find out where you found your joy. So the phrasing was to find out where you found your joy and how you hang on to it. So that's where I found it, have it, met it, connect with it, absolutely, completely embrace it, love it, and it loves me. Um, and how do I hang on to it? So again, I wouldn't, if I ever felt that I was hanging to something, I would immediately stop myself because that's something I've trained myself to do. So what I might rephrase that a little here as I was playing with it was, okay, well, when someone, hey, like the example of uh, the governor of Virginia, it's going to be 2 years. How do I hang on to that? I roar with laughter, at the um, ridiculousness, at the predictability, at the wow, that's the best you got. You guys are running this whole playbook of trying to thwart, the unstoppable, um, hyper accelerated evolution and expansion and ascension, however you want to label it. Uh, and you don't think people are going to see through that, like all the beings of your state, like the president of the United States. So that's how I do it. I mean, and so there could be something that I see, that's another example came to mind, something that I see that's very dark, where I'm having to look at or deal with or investigate, or something else, information is coming, and it's graphic into, yet another revelation of some of the very most terrific things that have gone on. And in that case, I breathe. In that case, I I do. It's kind of a thing that I do. It's just involved breathing, but it involves coming from a heart, just in a way that I do it, and connecting with the soul of the being who's, actually it's multiple. So the being who's been hurt or abused, or is in the file or in that information, and also, to an extent, the being who may have been, involved in perpetrating, because so often, as everybody will find out, this not excusing it, but the very same stuff was visited upon them. They just happened to survive it, or be allowed to survive it, and turn out. So it's not as simple as one might think, and it's unfathomable, and unconscionable. But so as that is, using that as an example, um, that's how I do that, and then um, that's an interesting way to phrase it. So I roar with fierceness, and that, the velvet wrapped titanium fierceness comes through, and um, I feel into what else that I can do to redouble efforts. To am I working in the right ways that can help bring this down even quicker? So they're different. Sorry, the mosquitoes are decided that I'm delicious. The so things do come up, um, and there are moments, where I might get bumped or knocked a little, but it doesn't ever go away. It's like something comes into view, and I look at it and I meet it, and it may make me very, very sad, or it may make me incredibly pissed off, or it may make me very fierce and very defensive, meaning as a defender, as a warrior of light. It may bring up a number of things that are fully felt and dealt with, but I don't take any of them on board. Um, I don't take it. That's the simplest way to say it. I don't take any of the facets of that on board. I do my own practices to stay in the 0 point, to stay in the open heart, to integrate that, to take the information and use that to, um, for to arm my quiver of my bow of being a warrior of light, um, in various ways, whether that's laughter or something else. So, um, anyways, it was been a fascinating exercise for me to do it, and I was nudged to share. So much love to the being who asked me the question, and I hope that helps. And I love you all.